It's Spectrum News at 10. I am Emedion James coming to you live from Uyo. Let's take a look at today's headlines. President Tinubu to inaugurate $400 million Rivers Crude Export Terminal. Akwa Ibom State Governor Pasumoino dissolves statutory and non-statutory boards and commissions. Plus, EU leaders meet to plan defense strategy after drone incursion over Denmark. Details of the stories and more are coming up shortly today. Welcome to Spectrum News at 10. We begin the news at 10 from a national scene where President Bola Tinubu is scheduled to inaugurate the $400 million Otakikbo onshore crude oil export terminal in River State on October the 8th. The first new crude export facility to be built in Nigeria in over 50 years. The facility, developed by Green Energy International Limited, operators of the Otokikbo field in OML 11 Ikuru Town and Doni local government area of River State, is the first wholly indigenous onshore terminal built in Nigeria. The first such facilities, the Focados terminals, was commissioned in 1971. The inauguration is expected to attract top government officials, including the Minister of State for Petroleum, Senator Henneken Lokbotberry, River State Governor Siminalaye Fubara, and key stakeholders across the oil and gas sector. According to a statement signed by Jail Executive Director of Legal and Corporate Services, Olusegun Ilori, on Thursday, the terminal aligns with President Tinubu's drive to boost crude oil production and address Nigeria's long-standing evacuation challenges. In another development, the National Assembly has announced new security measures restricting movement around the office of Senate President Godswill Akpabio. This was contained in a memo dated October 2nd and signed by the Sergeant-at-Arms at the National Assembly, Etido Ekpo. Ekpo stated that the corridor linking the White House lobby to the Senate President's office will henceforth be reserved exclusively for senators and members of the House of Representatives. He explained that aid and personal assistance will no longer be permitted access to the passage. Etido Ekpo, the Sergeant-at-Arms of the National Assembly and retired Brigadier General, said the restrictions are aimed at ensuring a secure and safe environment for legislative duties. Meanwhile, the National Assembly is scheduled to resume plenary on October 7th after a recess of more than 2 months. On electoral matters, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has urged the National Assembly to expedite the passage of proposed amendment to the country's electoral legal framework. Yakubu made the appeal on Thursday in Abuja during a meeting with the European Union Election Observation Follow-up Mission to Nigeria. This was led by Barry Andrews, who also headed the EU mission during the 2023 general election. Yakubu emphasized that the early passage of the amendment electoral law is crucial for INEC's effective planning ahead of the next general election. He noted that INEC had thoroughly reviewed all 8 recommendations specifically directed to the Commission in the European Union Election Observation Mission's report on the 2023 general election. In politics, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has denied agreeing to step down for anyone ahead of the 2027 presidential election. Atiku spokesman Paul Ibe said in a statement on Thursday that the interview the 2023 PDP presidential candidate granted in Hausa was misrepresented. Ibe further stated that what Atiku Abubakar clearly and unambiguously said was that young people, as well as other prospective presidential aspirants, are free to enter the contest. Atiku is set to run on the platform of the African Democratic Congress, which opposition heavyweights have chosen as their rallying point to take on the ruling APC. Recall that in July, Atiku formally resigned his membership of the PDP, citing irreconcilable differences. He noted that he found it necessary to part ways due to the current trajectory the party has taken, which, according to him, diverges from the foundational principle it stood for. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pasumoino has ordered the dissolution of all statutory and non-statutory boards and commissions in the state effective from today. The directive, issued under the provisions of Section 6 of the Statutory Board Special Provision Law 2023, was contained in a statement signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Prince Enobong Uwa. Governor Ino expressed appreciation to the chairman and members of the affected board and commissions for their services and contributions to the implementation of his administration Arise agenda. He also wished them success in their future endeavors. The statement further directed that all government properties in possession of the dissolved boards and commissions should be handed over to the most senior civil servant in each of their respective bodies. Let's move now to Africa, where South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said on Thursday that Israel needed to immediately release South African activists detained by Israeli armed forces after the interception of the global summit flotilla overnight. Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip continues on land and at sea, according to the latest report. The global Sudan flotilla, aiming to deliver humanitarian aid to the Palestinian population, was intercepted by the Israeli Navy overnight on Wednesday. Almost all of the 40 boats carrying activists from around the world and aid were reportedly stopped and escorted to the port of Ashdod, where they were all detained. In the port, Israel reportedly carried out immigration proceedings without the activists' lawyers present. The Adalia Legal Center, which has been working with the flotilla, said on Thursday afternoon that it had eventually been granted access to the port to carry out consultations with the volunteers. Still in Africa, at least 2 people have been killed in Morocco after police opened fire to prevent protesters from storming a police station in Liquia, near the coastal city of Agadir. These are the first deaths reported since huge youth-led protests broke out across Morocco on Saturday as anger grew over the government's decision to build football stadiums for the 2030 FIFA World Cup rather than improving public services and tackling the economic crisis. According to a protester who spoke on condition of anonymity as he feared reprisals, it was dirty and patients had to bribe security officers and nurses to see a doctor. The protests had been happening at night, with police saying they were forced to open fire in legitimate self-defense on Wednesday evening to repel the attack in Lilia. On a foreign scene, EU leaders meet in Copenhagen to reinforce European defenses and Ukraine aid after a wave of mysterious drone incursions over Denmark fueled fears of Russian hybrid attacks. Brussels is urging member states to unite behind 4 flagship defense projects: a drone wall, Eastern flag security, missile defense system, and a space-based shield. As she hosted the summit in Copenhagen, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned that Europe is already facing a hybrid war that threatens to spread across the continent. Meanwhile, EU leaders will discuss bolstering European defenses and Ukraine's financial firepower at a summit in Denmark, where mysterious drone flights have wrapped up fears about the threat from Russia. So on the foreign scene, Germany's Munich airport reopened today after several drone sightings on Thursday evening forced air traffic control to suspend operations, leading to the cancellation of 17 flights and disrupting travel for nearly 3,000 passengers. The disruption in Munich is the latest in a string of similar drone incidents in Europe. As operation resumed early today, a Reuters witness saw passengers checking in for flight to Vienna in Bulgaria, and the departure board showed only a few flights had been cancelled. A flight from Bangkok was the first of the day to land at around 5:25 a.m., according to the airport website. Still to come in the news. Crystal Palace beat Dynamo Kiev in Conference League opener. Stay tuned for details of this in just a moment. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is Spectrum News at 10. On a business news, the Naira appreciated significantly against the United States dollars at the official foreign exchange market after Nigeria's independence anniversary holiday on Thursday. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria showed that the Naira strengthened to 1,455 Naira on Thursday, up from 1,475.35 Naira traded on Tuesday. This means that the Naira gained 20.11 Naira against the dollar on Thursday compared to the 1,475.35 Naira exchange at the close of trading before Wednesday holiday. Similarly, at the black market, the Naira firmed by 5 Naira to 1,485 on Thursday from 1,490 Naira on Tuesday. These indicate positive sentiment across forex markets on Thursday and further shows that the gap between the official and parallel foreign exchange market has continued to narrow. In health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, on Thursday destroyed fake, expired, substandard and falsified drugs and products valued at 15 billion naira in Ibadan, Oyo State. This was announced by the Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, during the destruction in Ibadan, the state capital. Represented by NAFDAC Director of Investigation and Enforcement, Martins Iloye Made, Adeyeye said the agency remained resolutely committed to ensuring that food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, chemicals, packaged water and drinks were safe, wholesome and effective for human consumption. She stated that the destruction of those products would eliminate the risks of their re-entry into the Nigerian market. Still in health, the National Association of Resident Doctors, NERD, has said that over 35% of Nigerian children under 5 years are affected by malnutrition, describing the menace as a critical public health challenge. In a post on X on Thursday, NERD said over 35% of children under 5 are affected. Interventions include therapeutic food distribution, community-based management of acute malnutrition, and infant and young child feeding counseling. It added that research shows these strategies significantly improve recovery rate and child survival. The body urged support for sustainable nutritional programs to protect children's health nationwide. Let's move now to sports where on Thursday in the UEFA Conference League. Colombia wing-back Daniel Munoz's brilliant towering header in the first half put ballers ahead in Lumley, where Dynamo are playing their home games in Europe this season because of the war in Ukraine. Remio Pino, as Palace set a new club record run of 19 matches unbeaten. Bona Sosa, though, picked up 2 yellow cards in quick succession to leave Palace with 10 men for the final 15 minutes. Palace qualified for Europe after beating Manchester City in the FA Cup final last season, but were demoted from the European League. Of Nigeria got their campaign back on track at the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup after a dramatic 3-2 win over Saudi Arabia. Nasiru Saliu gave Nigeria the lead from a superb header in the 10th minute. Aliyu Zubairu's side had another opportunity to lead a few minutes later, but Barobo Ariani goal bounce shot was saved by the Saudi goalkeeper. Saudi Arabia equalized through Amir Yabi on 21 minutes. The Flying Eagles regained the lead in the 38th minute through right-back Amos Ocheche, who fired home from inside the box. On entertainment news, Big Brother Naija Season 10 housemate Faith Adewale has been disqualified from the reality show following a physical altercation with fellow contestant Sultana. The announcement was made by Biki on Thursday after an emergency meeting was convened in the main lounge. During the meeting, Faith was instructed to leave the house immediately. The disqualification came after a heated exchange during a group talks where tensions escalated between Faith and Sultana. The conflict reportedly began when Sultana accused Faith of being overly controlling and attempting to lead the talks, despite it failing outside his area of expertise as a medical professional. The argument escalated when Faith forcefully dragged